Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting, October 10th, 2023. I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Beginning with the land acknowledgement, Blackfalds Town Council acknowledges that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Dene Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Administration, any additions to the agenda this evening?
No, there are no additions.
Council? Just one quick addition under business for the good of council, 13.1, kindness tour. Can I get a motion to adopt amended agenda? Councillor Sands.
I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is unanimous. We do have two delegations this evening. The first, we're joined by Linda Morell regarding the urban hens. Linda, good evening. You made it just in time.
Okay, I hear about my hands again. So sorry. I just want to give a little background story. I was letting my hens out in my yard with no problem, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but I want to say a good 2 months with not knowing that there's a bylaw that says they're not allowed to. So I ended up with bylaw at my house and asked me if I had chickens, and I said yes. And he said, man, I knew that was going around, like that it was being allowed, but I didn't know anybody had any. I said yes, because I have no issues, and my neighbors love my chickens. And anyways, he said that somebody had made a complaint and that they're not supposed to be running around. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, now I know. So now they're locked up back in their coop. But I started thinking, like, we have been enjoying these chickens so much. My kids, they are in the backyard with my chickens. My dog and my cat, like, it's just I don't know. They're never unattended, ever. And so I almost feel like really it's inhumane to have them locked up. I know they're, the coop is so big, but really chickens are made to like eat the grass and eat the bugs, and right. And so I'm just asking, even if you guys would consider just revisiting it, and maybe even if it was just for a little portion of the day, an hour or something, so that we could just have them out and I wouldn't be in trouble and we could visit with them, and they are a living creature, and then back in their coop they go. Just something. I just, I didn't have time to prepare tonight to even phone like the Humane Society and see if that's, doesn't it kind of sound inhumane, that they would be locked up 24/7 every day for however long, without even, I even said, how about when I clean their coop, can they come out at like nothing, zero? So I'm just asking for you guys to consider that. They are like our pets too. Nobody knew that my chickens were running around, for 2 months. Nobody. I'm sure it's because the video went up on Facebook that they were coming up on my deck because they'd hear my voice in the house and they think I'm their mama, right? And so, it's kind of cute, right? It's pretty sweet, and they're a part of our family. And so I just a little bit of consideration possibly that we could just change it, modify it a bit. Doesn't have to be for the whole day, just something that we wouldn't be in trouble, because I don't want to be in trouble from bylaw. I want to follow the rules. I really wanted this badly, and I don't want anybody to misuse it or be in trouble for it. I'm just asking for some consideration. Maybe we could alter that one rule a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Questions from anyone on council? Councillor Sands.
Yes, I was just wondering, since you're very knowledgeable in this line,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you've done your homework as well, just wondering, are you aware of any other municipalities that do allow that type of thing, or?
Not really, and like I said, I didn't do my homework like I should have. I just have so much life stuff going on right now that I asked my girlfriend who actually presented with me from Lacombe, and she said, yeah, we're not allowed to either. I do, but we're not allowed. So, right, I just want to follow the rules and, maybe see if, so I haven't checked with anybody else. I don't know. Honestly, if you, like people I got people friends that live on Burbank here where all the wild animals are running free. She started, at the beginning of spring with 10 chickens. They run around all day. They run around with their kids. They do all, everywhere. You pull in their driveway on their acreage and these chickens are coming to see you, and I don't even know them. They put themselves to bed at night. So they literally know, honestly, to put themselves to bed. And then the husband or wife goes out and locks their cage. Nothing is happening right in the middle, like the river. You can see the river. The backyard is the river, right? I don't know. There's, if you're talking about prey or, and that's a big concern for people, it just, they're not out all night or, right? They're not alarming or, what is the word I'm looking for? If the prey is right there and they're on an acreage, right? We got prey here too. I can hear them when I go to bed. They're not, right? People's cats aren't going missing and,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Well, I appreciate, Linda, your candid presentation. And as you know, this was a time-consuming process.
Yes.
A substantial amount of research went into this by our administration. And if you're not aware, you should be that when we make a bylaw or any change to a bylaw, it impacts the use of that particular use for everybody in the community. So obviously there was a substantial amount of work, and anything that we would consider, we would have to consider how that would impact the entire community.
Right.
So we certainly wouldn't be making any decisions and really not a whole lot of comment about this tonight.
Yeah.
We could,
that's right.
I would imagine the fact that our administration is present
Yes.
tonight, they'll likely have a discussion about this. But just so you're aware that a lot of work went into this. As you've already pointed out, the closest neighbor to us that has the hen bylaw, that isn't something that they allow, and there's likely a good reason for that. I don't know that anybody on this council will be able to make comment on that, but I think the best I can tell you is that our administration will look into it. If it's possible, we would consider it. But again, if we do consider any changes to the bylaw, which, as you are also were aware, there was a little bit of controversy and a little bit of challenge to get this passed in the community. It isn't something that we would decide lightly,
sure.
because of the fact that it is still only a trial bylaw, and we certainly don't want to necessarily upset the cart for people that are complying with this as it is. But
Okay.
that said, appreciate the fact that you're owning up to the fact that you made that mistake and not knowing that it was a feature of that bylaw. And I appreciate that you've filled us in on that, and our administration will give it some due consideration.
Okay, also just to keep in mind, winter's coming. They don't like snow, so they don't want to be, they're not going to be running around in the backyard, so it's really only a time frame of our very 2-day summer that we have here in Alberta.
Okay, thanks. And I would assume that bylaw spoke to you and just gave you a warning in that respect?
He did, yeah. And
Okay,
I just
appreciate, because
love
we
the
do,
chickens.
as you found out, our bylaw enforcement officers have discretion.
Yeah.
And I'm, in this case, I'm glad that they used their discretion. This is a new bylaw.
Yeah.
And now it's in the hands of our administration. So thank you for your comments
All
this
right.
evening.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing?
Certainly.
One other thing, I do have a 6-foot fence all around my house, so that, helps, right? That really nobody, my neighbors don't even know that my chickens were running around. They don't. One neighbor knows because her little kiddo comes over to play and see the chickens. But, when you have that kind of a structure in your yard and, yeah.
Okay.
So, all right.
Thanks for
Okay.
coming in this evening.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, and our other delegation this evening, we're joined by a number of members from the Blackfalds Chimo Club. Welcome. Would you like them to stand there? You can all come forward if you'd like. Yeah, you don't have to, but it's your opportunity to present how you wish.
Okay.
And if you're whoever's speaking, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, because there are people that are possibly listening.
So greetings, your worship, counselors, administrators, and friends. I'm Glenda Brown. I'm here representing the Chimo Club. Here's some of our members, some of the executive. So just hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We just wanted to let you know firsthand what's going on with us. So first, you should know that 2024 marks the 50th anniversary of the Chimo Club being active in Blackfalds. So we have made the difficult decision to rename ourselves the Blackfalds Seniors Club. It's felt the new name is a little more inclusive and the original intent of the name is no longer in use or probably even appropriate. So we've made that decision. We have members from Lacombe County, Blackfalds, Lacombe, Red, all over the place. Our numbers have grown from, we had 18 in 2018, and in 2023 we're over 50. So we've done really well. We now meet on Monday and Thursday afternoons, plus the first and third Wednesday afternoons. These particular days let us have the full use of the community center, and this allows us room to grow our membership, space to floor curl, carpet bowl, and offer a range of other games and social activities for the members and those who drop in. We met on Wednesday afternoons over the summer, and that also enabled us to play some games outside, weather permitting, which was really fun. We really enjoyed that. We're also proud of our first place parade wins, including best overall float in 2023. And I just want you to know we're already planning our 50th anniversary float. We have our parade marshal planner here, so he's got some big things planned, so you can look forward to that. We'd also like to acknowledge the FCS and their volunteer coordinator for giving us some wonderful opportunities to do things like the 50-plus walking club, the yoga, the fitness programs, and more than a movie afternoons. They also sponsored a lot of events for us during Seniors Week, and we're grateful for that. We've also enjoyed going to the Bulldogs games as a group. We've had some fantastic opportunity to meet more of the young people and just enjoy our town, so that's been awesome. We wanted to formally acknowledge the part the town of Blackfalds has played in helping the seniors community in Blackfalds grow and thrive, and we look forward to your continued support, so thank you so much. That was all I was really going to say, but I would like to just make a little add-on for something that happened today with for a maintenance person that we had. The hall hadn't been cleaned over the weekend, so when we got there, we mopped the floor and tidied up and did our stuff, which was fine. And then, so we called the town to get somebody to come and open up the divider. The maintenance guy came really quick. He was quite polite. While he was there, we realized that one of the ladies' bathrooms was really nastily soiled, so we let this fellow know. And he came and he cleaned it up for us. He did a wonderful job. Nobody caught his name, but we would like to say thank you for that maintenance worker. He did a great job. And that's really all we had to say. So do you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk to us about?
I see none, but I will say that I have had the pleasure in the past of being invited to lunch during your meetings, and I can tell that you guys have a fantastic culture. And from what I understood meeting you this past year, that your numbers have grown, which is great to hear. That your number of activities have increased. I know even so much as I hear all the time about the walking group at the Abbey Center, which is incredibly inspiring to hear that you have such great participation there. So, and I know that maybe not, I don't know if all of those people are members of the Seniors Club, but obviously you have a good culture if you're attracting additional members. honestly, I was digging through, and I don't know why I felt it was appropriate. I found a Blackfalds Seniors Club pen. I thought it'd be appropriate to use it tonight. I thought you had already renamed to that.
Well, we're working on it, as you know. These
But
things
just in
aren't
honor of the 50th anniversary, I'm using that pen, and I'll use it maybe
Perfect,
for
thank
the
you.
rest of the year until it runs out. No, but all that to say is that I think the town appreciates the relationship that we have with your organization. I think it's positive for the community, and I look forward to seeing an even better float at the parade next year. So thank you
Well,
for
we'll
that.
invite you to our next potluck.
Oh, I would be there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, I do have one question, Councillor Coulter.
Not really a question. I'd like to thank you guys very much for coming and presenting to us tonight and letting us know what all you guys have done over the year and where your numbers are going. I hope you guys
at the gala. So we haven't really talked about attendance, but I would definitely be going because I love supporting our business.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just go down the line, who's attending and who is not attending.
Since we have a motion on the table, should we just?
Well, I can open that up for debate discussion and discussion aspect. We can make comment in that. Councillor Coulter, would you be attending this?
Yes, I will.
Okay, Councillor Bell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dennis?
Yes.
Councillor Sands?
Yes.
Councillor Stenday?
I will be.
And I will as well, so we have everyone in attendance, so that should satisfy that aspect. Any debate or further debate or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I would like to suggest that we offer the 8th seat to CA Isaac.
Offer the
8th seat at our table.
8th seat? Oh, absolutely. Will you be attending?
Sure.
Great way to
I
get
will.
to know the business
Yeah,
community.
that's right.
Okay, wonderful. That said, no other debate discussion. I call the question, all in favor? And 7.2, Apollo Health Center funding request.
Thank you, Worship and Council. On July 12th, administration received an email from Dr. Ciccelli from the Apollo Health Center notifying the town that he'd be closing the clinic by the end of the year. Administration met with Dr. Ciccelli and his wife Rubina on July 17th to discuss their concerns and options moving forward. At that time, it was estimated that they would require at least $30,000 to keep the clinic viable for the next few months until they could acquire more doctors. On September 25th, administration received another email from Dr. Ciccelli confirming that they would require $6,000 per month for the next 6 months to help carry them through until the new doctors joined the clinic. The new doctors will help us offset future costs, but in the meantime, Dr. Ciccelli is asking the council consider the proposed funding by way of a grant or short-term loan. The town of Blackfalds understands how important it is to maintain and improve the health services for our residents and ultimately succeed in our community. According to Dr. Ciccelli, the Apollo Health Center currently has 2,000 patients on their list. The Apollo Health Center is requesting $6,000 per month for the next 6 months. And we currently have $15,000 in the economic development operating budget for health and business attraction and retention. So we'd like to use that towards some of this, and then the remaining funds could be used as a loan or drawn upon as needed. So we have a recommendation forward to council, and if you have any questions.
Comments or questions from council? Councilor Bell.
Thank you through the chair to Director President. Thank you for bringing this forward. Actually, when this was mentioned at the BPART committee meeting in September that they had met with the town in July, I think a number of people around the table were a little surprised. So I'm glad this is coming forward. My question for you is, a few years ago, we had discussed supporting one of the pharmacies in their attraction and retention of a doctor, and we had funds set aside for that. Or is it the same funds that we're discussing now in the economic development budget, or do you know if those were separate?
I don't know the answer to that. Perhaps Justin would know.
Thank you for that question. So I did look up under the economic development budget, and we do have about 15,000 remaining. It's only listed as BHG Park. It's not listed for individual clinics, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. So my question is, so we had discussed, giving funds to the pharmacy to help them, fix up their treatment rooms and that sort of stuff. And we were told at one point there was a doctor coming and we were working on that, but then they had pulled out. So I'm just wondering if monies that were supposed to go there were ever spent, or
Yeah, thanks for that question. To my knowledge, those funds have not been spent.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Stanley.
So just because the clinic has been open for quite some time and has been trying the entire time to attract doctors, prior to agreeing to give them additional money, are we aware of whether or not they already have doctors lined up? Are we just waiting for them at this point? Like, what guarantee do we have that if we provide this grant, that they will actually be able to keep their doors open? Or are we just keeping their doors open while they have the money?
Yeah, in our discussions with Dr. Kachelli, he did say that they do have a couple of doctors that are coming. Again, is there a guarantee that that is happening? Not necessarily. Could we write something in a contract or some sort of condition that this funding is provided that they do receive? I don't know if they would even be able to sign that because I don't know if they would know whether or not they're getting any doctors. So, but they are pretty optimistic that they will be getting 2 or 3 new doctors in the next year from when we talked to them.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor, oh, thanks. Through the chair to Councillor Stanley. We did hear confirmation from AHS that one of those doctors, actually one that we welcomed to Blackfalds last December, will be coming for sure. They just had, it was a between October and December timeline of when the final I's were dotted, T's were crossed, paperwork in order for that person to start. And then we also heard that there was a very, very high probability that a second person would be coming, but that one in our last meeting had no date yet as far as AHS goes.
And I can add further to that, there has been substantial discussion with the Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee surrounding those doctors. Unfortunately, and it's no fault of Apollo Clinic, this is a challenge that's being experienced across the province with getting the steps necessary to bring. Most often, it's these foreign trained doctors that are trying to come to Canada, to come to Alberta. They spend a number of months working with a proctor. They need to write exams, and unfortunately, there's sometimes a delay in finding that. So they, as Councillor Fallon mentioned, I know at least the 3 doctors that the clinic has been working on bringing. We, as a economic development, our last EDO has helped us tour one of those doctors around town, and I think it's imminent. As far as I knew, it was something like November, December when they expect this first doctor. They do have 2 doctors right now that are alternating between winter and summer. So one doctor goes away for the winter, comes back and works the summer. The other one works through the summer, goes away for the winter. So that's a challenge for them just to keep their doors open. And similar to what Councillor Pell was saying earlier about the funding, I do, if I recall, and again, it would be nice to have some further discussion about this. I think the previous council had approved a substantial amount. I think it was well over $100,000 for incentives for bringing physicians to Blackfalds, and I don't think that any other than Apollo Clinic has been able to attract and bring doctors to this clinic. I do remember the pharmacy was a potential, and so in my recollection, there should be substantial funds left that would have been allocated towards that incentive. And this, if they can ultimately bring a doctor or 2 doctors to the community, would be consistent with at least the spirit of what that funding was for. It may not be my mind, this would be aligned with that. I don't see, I'm gonna hit the light and see who's coming up first. Counselor Swab.
I was first before Counselor Cobb last time, but
Oh.
I'm glad you got me this time. So MLA Johnson, I think, should be contacted about our healthcare system in our community. I know she has talked in the past about this, and I'm wondering if she's ever been invited to one of our BH Park meetings to sit in and hear the concerns about what's happening in our community, other than what council has mentioned to her.
Okay, do we know that, if that's the case, administration?
I do know that we had a session with MLAs. This is just prior to the election. So, but I don't think there was a session afterwards where we invited the newly elected MLA. So.
And then further, I was just wondering, we are still trying to meet with our health minister to have discussions on doctors in our community, because seeing that our clinic could have folded December 31st if we don't help support them and fund them, what are they doing? Because this is unacceptable for a community of 11,015 people. I think we need to write them another letter and say, hey, this is what's going on. Start removing some more of this red tape so we can actually get doctors in our community so that they'll actually stay here. We're doing our part. Why isn't the government doing theirs?
Now, I know that we did request a meeting with the health minister for the AV munis. We weren't successful. Very few municipalities were successful in getting a meeting with the health minister. I did take part this last week with the David Thompson Health Advisory Committee, and that was a substantial amount of that meeting was discussing challenges with attracting physicians. They do have, part of the update from Alberta Health is they do have the rural health stream to attract physicians, and so the numbers were bleak. Honestly, there's, I think, out of our whole, and it's a huge region, there's 8 regions in the province. In the David Thompson Health region, 3 doctors have been able to take advantage of that, and we're talking, numerous communities that are part of that. It is, and I think I mentioned in a previous roundtable of mine that Central Alberta mayors did have in August, a meeting with the health minister at the legislature. And this was obviously, again, a substantial amount of that conversation. She's indicated that that's part of her mandate to increase those numbers. They have a number of programs. I don't have them memorized, but it's obviously a lot of talk, and we're not seeing necessarily fruits from that. But I would be happy if we could put out an invitation to the health our MLA at the very least, and maybe request a meeting again with the health minister about this. I would also, in that meeting, be happy to find out if there's any funding that the town could access to try and help keep a doctor that we already have in the clinic open in this. So perhaps this is something that once we get through all the questions, we may consider making a motion to administration that we put forward invitations for MLA. I mean, we need to keep this conversation going constantly. Do you follow up for comments?
I do, but I gotta think
Okay,
about
we'll go
it.
through the rounds because there's a lot of items on here. So, Councillor Coulter.
Thank you. Actually, one of your last comments is what I was wondering about in regards to checking to see what there is out there for provincial or federal grants and being able to keep our health facilities open longer. I feel myself personally, this 6-month thing might just be a Band-Aid on where we're going. I'd really like to see if there's something out there that we can help them so that they can stay open longer and not have too much of a financial burden on them when we do get a doctor, because the new doctor's coming in and already has enough expenses, let alone adding more expenses on in regards to the clinic. But I support in supporting the clinic. They've done amazing in our community. Thank you.
Councillor Stenday.
I stand with this. The Attraction and Retention Committee was formed in 2020. In 2021, the Apollo Health Center opened with promises of doctors. In 2022, there was many articles from RD News Now to RHPAP, like just a lot of them, about how Apollo still wasn't able to attract physicians and only had Dr. Kachali, because the doctor that we did attract left for greener pastures, which, having been at Alberta municipalities just recently, I was able to sit in on a seminar where several communities similar in size to ours spoke about their struggles attracting and retaining physicians in their community. And one of the things that we heard from a community relatively similar in size to Blackfalds was that you can throw as much money at the problem as you want, but at the end of the day, you're out of money and you still don't have doctors, because even if you can attract them, they don't stay, which is exactly the problem that Blackfalds is dealing with. So given that, and given that there are two different aspects to the motion requested by administration, I would be comfortable providing a loan, understanding that there would be direct stipulations about repayment of said loan to the clinic so they can keep their doors open, knowing that there is the potential for a doctor between now and hopefully the end of December. So that should give them enough time to get this doctor in place. I'm not certain that I'm comfortable giving them a grant with no guarantees.
Thank you. Councilor Falconer.
Thank you. Regarding Mayor Coover's previous comment on potential grants and funding. So the town of Blackfalds would recently moved from Wolf Creek PCN, where we got absolutely zero attention, to Red Deer PCN, which over the past several months, since May, we've received a lot of attention, and they've been working with us very well. And the Red Deer PCN Professional Attraction Retention Committee has been doing a great job between the town of Blackfalds, the city of Red Deer, and the village of Delburn in getting together with actual doctors in our area. And we're having members join us virtually from AHS, as well as we even had someone from the College of CPSA. My question is, I wonder if there is either funding assistance through the Red Deer PCN or potentially RHPAP that we might be able to access as well. I will just say this, knowing that they came forward to the town in July saying that they could be closing by December if they didn't have funding, and we're only discussing this now, does concern me a little bit, because even if the new doctor, one new doctor is able to start again right away, I don't know if that's enough help. So I'm just thinking, if they were asking us for this help 3 or 4 months ago and nothing's happened since then, my concern is, where has that deficit grown of this? I realize that they spoke to us here again in September, and it looks like they didn't change their ask. But my concern would be, if they don't receive some sort of immediate influx, what does that look like for them?
So all that to say, I think it's great for us to talk about and ask these questions. I think it's best if we move some of these suggestions forward through motions. But I would have similar questions that Councillor Bell brought forward. What's the timeline that we're looking at here? They're asking for this. It has been something that they brought to the town quite a while ago. I think that their initial concern, I think it was probably about a week after Dr. Kachali contacted the town, stating that this was going to happen by the end of the year. And then about a week after that, didn't really completely retract it, but said that that was, he would be open for discussion And we've met with, not Dr. Kachali, but I know Rubina, Dr. Kachali's wife, has been part of our BPARC meeting. She took part in this, the David Thompson Health Attraction Committee. So I know that Dr. Kachali and his wife are actively engaged in trying to find solutions for not only Blackfalds Clinic, but they have the clinic in Melbourne as well, which, by the way, the county, Red Deer County, has provided some grant funding for them to keep that clinic open. Because Councillor Stenny is correct, there's no guarantee here, but, and it is a matter of, in a way, throwing money at these doctors to try and retain them, but I think everybody is desperate enough to try and keep their doctors that they feel that they would do it. And I think that there's a lot of communities that would be happy to throw way more than $15,000 towards Dr. Kachali if he was willing to move his clinic there. But that said, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So if we have time, can administration clarify whether or not this is imminent, that we need to make this decision? Do we have time to refer this back to administration to get answers as to whether there's grants to assist us, even just to start that inquiry process?
Yes, we can touch base with Dr. Kachali, and then potentially come back again to October 24th meeting, and check out the options for grants, whether it's through the province or Red Deer PCN.
Councillor Sloan?
I kind of like that idea, because it would be great to know what we actually need to give. If we only have to loan $15,000 and the rest is made up in grants, we're saving our community $15,000. If we, I don't want to see our doctor leave. It's our only doctor, and I have 2,000 patients. I don't know if they're all from our community, but there's no doctors to be found. So we do have to try and save Apollo Clinic as much as we can. But being able to make a good decision with the funding that might be available, I think would be a little bit better. And like, this was July, now it's October. So if he's okay with our next regular council meeting, us coming back and actually having that information, then I would say we should give this back to administration for more information. And once it comes back, then at least we know what we're doing.
Councillor Cindy?
So I'm looking at a January 20th, 2022 BPARC minutes. And I'm just curious if, as part of the information that comes back to council, we could have the total of what incentives they have already been given. The reason I'm asking is, according to the minutes, there were incentives to opening the clinic and fixturing. There was an invoice sent by Dr. Kachali on furnishings, as well as new physicians, full-time or part-time. So I'm curious just to know, like, a total, where we're at, how much money we've put into that clinic so far.
Yeah, we'll provide that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question here is if there's a desire from council to maybe look at just partially moving forward some of this funding, or even the loan or something to that effect. I mean, we know that we had budgeted and we have funding for this health attraction. I know this is not easy decisions to spend money when there's no guarantee, but as I, you know, in my opinion, and being involved in the health attraction committee, having taken part in numerous meetings about this, as frustrating as it is, I'm aware that it is a fragile to keep a doctor in our community, and to me, it's a small price to keep a doctor in our community, even for a short time to the end of the year. That's my opinion. I know that's not necessarily everybody else's opinion. I mean, I use another example with our seniors housing. We pay requisitions to that. The Cone Foundation is spending double this just to hire a consultant to help find funding for some of the projects there. It's not uncommon to have to do that. It's an unfortunate thing that we have to do this day and age, to have to chase to to chase the needs for a community by hiring consultants, by spending money. In my mind, this is a small price to pay to retain a doctor even for half a year. But I would like to think that keeps a good doctor. And I think more than just keeping a good doctor in your community, I think Dr. Kachali and Regina Kachali being so engaged in the whole overall solution in our province is an additional benefit to our community. If we just have another doctor, and I fully agree, Councilor Stenny, we attracted a doctor and they went to greener pastures. Dr. Kachali could do that without even telling us. But that said, it's my desire to keep him as long as possible, despite the cost. That is my position. Councilor Stenny.
Just if there's no further questions, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So I will move that council approve utilizing the 2023 Economic Development Operating Budget for Health and Business Attraction Retention in the amount of $15,000 as a one-time loan that will be drawn upon monthly as needed. And that further, council consider the $15,000 funding request during budget deliberations.
Okay, any debate, discussion on that motion? Councilor Bell?
Thank you. Just a question through to Councilor Sandy. Would this be understanding that between now and budget deliberations, administration could look into additional funding through other sources?
That was exactly the point of the motion. Wonderful, thank you very much.
And you know, I understand that. My concern, I'm not sure what I think it's a little vague to say drawn on monthly. I would support the idea of giving that a loan, let them manage it. I think that it's somewhat retroactive. The fact is that they brought this to the town's attention, so that's my concern in the motion. I would prefer that it was more specific, but and if we can just clarify the wording on what we're directing administration to do in terms of seeking further information. Just any.
So the basis for my motion was the fact that there is directly above that, that the Apollo Center was requesting $6,000 per month for the next 6 months. It is already almost halfway through October, and we're hearing that they should have a doctor by the end of December, so that's 2.5 months, which equates to about $15,000 less if they only require a month or 2 months to put that doctor in place. So they may only end up needing to borrow $6,000 or $12,000 instead of the 15. So I wanted to make sure that we are giving them the option rather than just throwing a $15,000 loan at them that they haven't asked for.
Okay. Just so everybody's clear, can we hear the motion again? So that we're giving. Do you have it clearly enough, or would you need it restated? So if I'm hearing it right, you're approving $15,000 loan from the funding, and then you're asking a review of the further $15,000 grant.
So my motion was that council approve a $15,000 loan supplied by the Economic Development Operating Budget for Health and Business Attraction and Retention in increments of up to $6,000 per month until the $15,000 has been spent in its entirety. And to that, council consider the funding request for a $15,000 grant during budget deliberations. And I didn't write that down, so I hope it made sense.
And I believe that Councilor Collett asked if we were directing.
We could always make that as a second.
Okay,
motion.
certainly. Okay, that's probably a better idea to be more clear. Okay, so any debate or discussion on that motion? I call the question, all in favor? Okay, thank you, that's unanimous. And is there a second motion, Councilor Pell?
Sure, thank you. And further that administration investigate and research potential grants from both our provincial and federal governments, as well as Red Deer PCN and RHPAP, period, as well as contact both our MLA and try to arrange a meeting with the health minister.
Thank you. Is it okay just to say grants, or do you want to be specific about all the different agencies that we're contacting? Is the administration happy with that? Because obviously, you know, in my mind, if there's more, then I want us to explore more.
That's okay. Would you like the specific names of?
I think grants would be fine, like
Sufficient?
I think
Okay.
that would be sufficient, right?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm quite happy to support that.
So the motion would read that the administration seeks any grant or funding for
Funding to help
Dr.
with
Johnson.
this, yeah, as well as
And
set up meeting with the health minister and our MLA.
Thank you. Any debate or discussion on that motion? Councilor Swab?
So last year, I can't remember when, it was Councillor Coulter and I were at an AHS meeting, after we had met with the health minister. And the health minister had mentioned at that time, that he wished Dr. Kachali could have been part of the discussion. So I'm just wondering if we can keep that in the back of our minds, that if we are meeting with the health minister, maybe we should find out if we need to actually bring the clinic in with us, so that everybody's kind of on the same page.
Okay, I would say maybe the invitation, whether, please let me know if it needs to be that specific in the motion, that we would include invitations to be part, which Dr. Kachali and Ravina Kachali are part of. That's kind of a given, what I
Yeah.
assume.
I would,
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or debate or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I call the question, all in favor? Thank you, that is unanimous. Important, thank you. Okay, and bring us to 7.3, request for decision, the Blackfalds Bulldog electronic advertising request.
Yeah, so last season, the Bulldogs hosted the AJHL Showcase. As part of that, the town of Blackfalds provided an in-kind donation of the ice valued at $8,714. In return, the Bulldogs provided the town of Blackfalds with an equitable sponsorship package, which included on-ice advertising for 3 seasons, 8 showcase passes, ads on the Jumbotron throughout the event, and 4 season tickets, and that was valued at $11,470. This year, the Blackfalds Bulldogs Junior A Club has offered the 4 season tickets once again as an in-kind gesture. At the January 24th regular council meeting, we approved the electronic sign policy, which for the Bulldogs, that would have been $20 per week for advertising. So they are putting a request in to waive that fee, and in consideration of the in-kind values that they provided to us in the past and for this season as well. So a recommendation is forward, and if you have any questions.
Okay, questions? Deputy Mayor Dennis?
So last year, what was done with the season tickets?
So at the beginning, the season tickets were intended for the EDO to take out clients to games. And then sometime after Christmas, the EDO said, I'm not really using any of these tickets as much as I probably should be. Can I offer them up to all staff? And then that decision was made to do that. So that's what was done.
Thank you.
And I can say once they were offered to me, I buy them regularly, I turn them down, but I think it's Sean Barnes who typically goes around and offers them to people, but if you were interested, certainly you could put your name in for that. I do have a question though. Do we know how much revenue that the town has received from advertising from the Bulldogs. I know that originally the agreement we had was that the town got a portion of the advertising revenue that they generated. Do we know what that amount is, and if that's the case this year as well?
Yes, we know that amount. It's I think last year was 34,000 in that range, because we received 10% of their advertising.
So it's fair to say that even if we were given kind, we're still significantly further ahead by what they're providing in this year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments before we consider a motion? Councilor Swallow?
I'm just wondering with these tickets, since they were meant for other people to come into our community to use, is there a way that we can make the tickets more responsible to who they actually go to? Because the town staff is getting perks, but we have volunteers that we could thank that way. There might be people that our volunteers might want to bring into our community to see a fabulous facility that we have and bring more sales to our community with the Bulldogs Club. I don't know, there's probably other great suggestions out there, but it'd be nice to be responsible with what we're doing with these tickets and just to give them out, because we don't really know who to give them to.
Councilor Stending?
So I have a question and a comment. My question being in relation to the letter from Michelle Brown, who suggested that as a community partner to the town of Blackfalds, who would fall under a local sports team, criteria outlined in the electronic sign advertising contract, the total fee for the regular season would be 25 weeks for $20 a week at $500. If they are willing to pay that, I'm not certain that I'm comfortable exchanging tickets and showcase passes and things like that for staff to use at no cost when our residents are not being offered anything. Like I think we should be treating them very much the same as we do any other organization in our community, and the fee is the fee. I'm not certain that I feel comfortable exchanging in-kind items like season passes. Has there been a conversation with them about not doing that and just providing them the local sports rate?
Yeah, originally, when we found out that they were providing us season tickets, the response was, we're not going to accept the season tickets. But then a decision was made, well, the EDO could use those tickets, and then it went towards the staff at the end. So there's always, we can always say, thank you, but we do not require these tickets any longer, and call it even.
I think that's how I would prefer to see it go, but ultimately it's up to all of council.
Councilor Bell?
Thank you. In trying to think of it in comparison to our other local sports teams. So potentially, minor ball doesn't have something they could give us to advertise in lieu of the money. So while we're keeping, we had a lot of discussion about the pricing of the electronic sign, and we tried to keep it really affordable. So while, I'd love to see the Bulldogs games advertised on there. For an organization, it's so little money for an organization when our other groups in our community might not have the opportunity to reciprocate us in another way. That's the only thing I'm having a hard time looking at it that way. Now, if we were to revisit our sponsorship agreement with them down the road, and this is included as something in there, I'd feel more comfortable with it. It's just this way of having a hard time being able to vote for it the way it stands right now.
Councillor Swab.
So in the background, it does say, in return, the town of Blackfalds was provided on ice advertising. What type of advertising was that? Because if they're advertising for community, then that's a whole different ballgame, because they're exchanging two different things, because now they're advertising our community and they're giving us something to, go off of that. So I don't know what the advertising was. I only went to a few games.
Yeah, the on ice advertising is a nice logo in the ice. And
Yes.
so that's for 3 seasons. And that's as a result of the showcase package. So that's guaranteed for the next 3 seasons regardless.
Okay. But then if that was the case, they would take Blackfalds right off the on-ice logo eventually, and that would be it.
After next season, yeah.
So I'll keep emailing all again. I thought that Mayor Dennis might catch that, but this is a short.
No, my comment on this, I think that the Bulldogs, this is an opportunity for the community having the Bulldogs here. It has been probably the biggest tourist draw or one of the biggest tourist draw next to maybe the Abbey Center to the community. I think this is a small amount, given the fact that we get, and I don't think that we necessarily even negotiated that ad revenue from the Bulldogs. It was just part of the package that they approached us. So in fact, we get a pretty substantial amount of ad revenue from them, in my mind. I think this is a small amount to give in lieu. I do agree though with what Councillor Schwab was saying earlier that we could probably do something better with those tickets. We give away prizes or incentivize people to do surveys and give feedback. I think we could find a creative way to use these tickets to incentivize people to give feedback to the town, to post things about the town and our involvement with the Bulldogs on our Facebook page or something to that effect. I don't know how much administration that would take, but it's not a small cost, those 4 tickets. I would think that those 4 tickets are probably in the range of a couple of $1,000 value in kind to the town, and we could certainly use those in a creative way. I would like to see that. I would support their request, but as well, I think that we could discuss doing something better with the use of those tickets. Would be my preference. Again, various comments here. Councillor Stanley, I saw your light on for a moment. Did you want to comment again?
Yep.
Okay. So that said, we do have the administrative recommendation in front of us. Someone willing to make that motion or another motion in lieu? Councillor Bell?
Thank you. Actually, I just have a request that if we could split the motions.
We could. So would you like to make a partial motion? Or does anyone?
Sure. I would like to move the council provide direction to administration on the development of guidelines for the distribution of tickets in a manner that does not conflict with town policies.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. So we're left with the request by the Bulldogs. Councillor Bell?
Thank you. I will move that council approve the request, I'm gonna read it as written. The council approve the request from the Blackfalds Bulldogs Junior A Hockey Club to waive the weekly advertising fee on the electronic billboard.
Thank you. Debate or discussion on that motion? Councillor Coulter?
I'm just wondering if through administration or Director Buckledge, if we're able to look at half instead of the full amount.
Well, you can consider an amending motion if you'd like, but we do have a motion on the table.
I would consider a friendly amendment if that's what you'd like it to be.
An amending motion, not a friendly amendment, would be
Well, I'm happy to adjust my,
Okay, would you like to make an amending motion that it is?
Yes, I'd like to make an amending motion that we approve for half the rate, half the amount of weeks, not the full amount. And my reasoning behind that is just giving our other clubs that use the billboard paying full fee, as it was brought up. A lot of them don't have anything they can do in lieu of.
The half amount being $10 a week?
Yeah.
Would be the understanding. So we'll vote on the amendment motion. If that passes, then of course that's carried through. If not, then we'll go back to the original motion. So I'll call the question on the amending motion. All in favor? All opposed? So that's defeated. Going back to the original motion. Call the question. All in favor? All opposed? So that is defeated. Okay, so, and I guess that is it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to 7.4, the 2024 Parkland Regional Library budget request.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Before you, you do have the 2024 Parkland Regional Library budget request. Every year, the Parkland Regional Library prepares a budget document and it sends to all its members. This document highlights the plan changes and it identifies the potential increases that they're considering. The Parkland Regional Library requests members to approve the budget submission as it contains the requisition rates to be charged for the year. The Parkland Regional Library has submitted a budget document for the 2024 fiscal year. It's anticipating a 43-cent increase to the per capita rate for municipalities, which equals 5%. The requisition is proposed at $9.18 per capita. However, this increase is estimated on a population increase of 4% as well. And this effectively has the requisition at a 9% increase over 2023 funding levels. The Parkland Regional Library uses the Alberta Treasury Board population estimates for calculating the requisitions. The current estimated population for Blackfalds increased 4%, just under 12,000 people. The total 2024 requisition equates to 109,811 with a population of just, like I mentioned, just under 12,000. There is a chart there with the history of the per capita rates, and like I mentioned there, the 2024 rate is $9.18. The administration recommendation today is the council move to accept the proposed budget by the Parkland Regional Library with the 2024 membership requisition at $9.18 per capita. And with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Councilor Bell.
thank you. Through the chair to the director of the president. So upon going through our budget binders, I noticed that the part of the Lacombe County cost share agreement that we have in there is currently at $0 for the year. So my question.
Sorry, for the library? Yeah. If you recall, the county funds the library directly now. It doesn't come to us and then goes to the library. So we did take out that line out.
Okay, so that answers the secondary part of my question then. So the county already pays for their own portions, so there is no, okay. And then, just because I will say, so we had a wonderful presentation, as we know, from the library a few weeks ago. And I think what they do in our community is incredible, and seeing the report that's coming later in our agenda here tonight, just the numbers of users that they're getting for their programs and seeing the number of people that are helped, and assisted and get to enjoy what the library can offer. It's not, I realize everybody wants to pay a 5% more, but as far as all other increases are going, it's not that high. So I will be supportive of this, although I'm sad there's no chance we're getting anything extra from the county to help offset that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree, and this is not our library, this is the Parkland Regional Library, and this is like the collective library resources that our local library utilizes. I think it was
7 times that, $7 for every dollar or more, so it's a substantial amount magnified by being part of this. So it's always been a benefit. I guess costs go up 5%. Seems like it's modest. I will also be in support. Any other comments, questions before we entertain a motion? Seeing none, do we have a mover? Councilor Sands?
I'll move that council move to accept the proposed budget by the Parkland Regional Library with the 2024 membership requisition at $9.18 per capita.
Thank you. Debate a discussion on that motion. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and that brings us, that's it for business items. That brings us to action correspondence. So I did follow up a little in this, the Red Deer Recovery Community that recently opened has invited not just the town of Blackfalds, it's invited a significant number of municipalities, councils, and apparently also senior administration to attend lunch and a tour of the facility. So I think they wanted to know at least this by the end of this week, if possible, who might be attending, or at least give a couple weeks. They wanted a couple weeks notice of who would attend so they could plan the lunch. So and this date was selected to accommodate primarily the city of Red Deer. So anybody that is interested, if I think would be suffice to let administration, to let Danielle know, and we'll pass on the numbers as to who would be interested in touring that facility. Do we need a motion to accept that action correspondence as information? Thank you. And moving on to information items, 9.1, Blackfalds Public Library update for May to August 2023 and their program information. Let's read down the list. Anybody that has a question, get my attention, please. Thank you. 9.2, Lacombe Foundation meeting minutes for June 19th. 9.3, Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes for August 22nd. 9.4, report for council on enforcement and protective services for September. Deputy Mayor Dennis.
Just on the one report saying, where's the front page here? On page 64, 4 incidents passing school bus with red lights. I don't know if they've processed all the ones that they've got, because there has been probably 10 at least. Plus other school divisions too. Like, I don't know if they're processing the cameras.
That's frustrating to hear that many.
Well, it is, and it's a problem, and it's not reflecting in our report. Like, someone's gonna get killed, like, it's serious.
Maybe perhaps we could find out, are those ones that have gone, because I would imagine that those go to court in a lot of cases. So if we can find out if those things are only provided to us after they've gone to court or what they're even appealed. But it's frustrating to hear that there's still that many people that haven't got the message that buses are on the road. But I'm glad that we have the technology on those buses to actually catch them, because in the past, that probably wasn't the case.
And there's lots that we don't catch from the cameras because they're out of range or their plates are dirty but out of the ones that we do that get sent in are good reading for the license plates and everything. So.
And I've heard that from other bus drivers that good quality cameras in general, and they're really effective. Thank you for that. 9.5, development and building monthly report for September. 9.6, bold KPI monthly report for September. 9.7, Parkland Regional Library Board Talk for September 14. 9.8, Parkland Library Board meeting minutes for September 14. 9.9, City of Lacombe Council highlights for September 25th. 9.10, County of Lacombe Council highlights for September 28th. Questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept information items? Councilor Swell.
I'll move to accept the information items as information.
Thank you. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. We have no roundtable discussion. We do have minutes from the regular council meeting on September 25th. Any errors or omissions noted? Looking for a motion to accept. Deputy Mayor Dennis.
I'll move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous. There are no notice of the motion. Brings us to business for the good of council. So just briefly, I met a lady in the area that is doing a cross-Canada tour, started in Victoria. Her name is Kelly Curious. Then you'll put the website up. She's bringing awareness to anti-bullying. She's an anti-bullying campaign. She's a speaker, a social worker and a speaker. And she's traveling across Canada. She's in the area. She was camping. She's got an old camper van that she gets people to sign magnets and positive messages and sticks them on there. She does speaking engagements. She was camping at Coonan Campground. And apparently she's there till Thursday. So anybody that would like to go and visit and say hi and sign a magnet and leave a message, a positive message. So she's calling this kindness tour. And the website is no such thing as a bully.com for anybody that is interested in looking that up. And as we have anti-bullying campaigns in town, I appreciated the effort and what she's doing for bringing further awareness to anti-bullying. So that was just for the benefit of counseling. Any other questions? That brings us to the end of the open portion of the meeting. So I will seek a motion to go to recess before we go to camera. Councilor Powell.
Thank you. Move for a 5-minute recess.
All in favor at 8:16.